Welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. Yes, it is Tuesday. What does that mean? It is last weekend. Today, the weekly special that we talk about some of the news that happened over the weekend and kind of break some of it down and give you guys some good ideas and concepts of what's going on. A lot of stuff is going on this weekend, but I'm talking about a little bit different idea this time, I hope. Please like, comment, share. I bug you every time. Please keep doing it. Like, comment, and share. Like me on Twitter. For some of you are not doing it, please go follow me on Twitter. Please go ahead and like me on Facebook, Sharpe Way. It's important. And subscribe to the Sharpe Way YouTube page. All those things matter. If you like what I'm giving, awesome. Head over to patreon.com/SharpeWay. Throw me a couple bucks, 10, 20, 30 bucks, whatever you have. Life is good. If you don't have that much money, no worries. Like, comment, and share is free. So please like, comment, and share. It does matter. It's how we grow. It's how we make this a much better, stronger, faster way of us growing. So yes, absolutely. Thank you, Pam. I love you too. Absolutely. Yes. I do try getting sharp. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. So look, I want to talk about a couple of things if I could, but this show is kind of an I told you so show. A little bit of that, but not that I told you this, because most of you watching me, you already knew this already, but it's the people who kind of didn't really know or didn't care about these things, right? That's the issue, right? I want to make sure that we see what happened and how things simply are always the same, even when COVID hits. So we talked about COVID. If you remember when COVID first came out, when it was still coronavirus, I was talking about how if we do this lockdown, it's going to devastate not just us, but it's going to devastate the third world, the undeveloped countries. It's going to crush them. It's going to devastate them. Well, as you always see me do every single Tuesday, it's not Tuesday if there's no Fareed. So let me quickly give you what Fareed Zakaria says, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, how this stuff just doesn't work.
The COVID curve has flattened. But this obscures.
He says the COVID curve has flattened.
The second phase of the crisis has begun as the virus is now spreading to the developing world.
The second phase is working as it begins to move into these other areas, right? Brazil, India, Russia. This is the second phase, he says.
Led by Brazil, India, Russia, Pakistan, and Chile. The resulting devastation will likely reverse years, if not decades.
This will likely reverse years, if not decades, of economic growth. He wasn't talking about people dying. Obviously, we know that people will die. COVID is real. Of course it will. But he's actually saying economic growth. He's saying all these countries that in the past have been growing so fast and doing so well that because of this, all of a sudden now it's going to start being crushed. You might say, well, Larry, why do I care? So what? They need to live. But a lot of these countries he's talking about, they are not able to just make more money. Otherwise, they go like Mozambique and they have, $1 billion Mozambique dollars is worth like $1. Or worse, they have people in their countries who literally live hand to mouth. If they can't work, they can't eat. They're going to starve to death.
Decades of economic progress. For a while, it appeared that the developing world was being spared.
It seemed like it wasn't that bad, he says.
According to a Brookings report, as of April 30th, with 84% of the world's population.
Look at that. Most of the people we weren't worrying about them. See, it was going to be okay.
Low-income and middle-income countries were home to just 14% of the world.
Look at how good this is going. It's going to be okay.
This can be explained in part by a lack of testing and a failure to attribute deaths to COVID-19.
But he talks about that there was a lack of testing. Of course, yes. Now, look, I love, John, that you want to print more money to the rescue. Yeah, I get that. However, these countries can't do that. Their currencies already aren't worth that much already. They keep printing. That's the end of them. And again, the wealthy will survive, as they always do. But what I told you, the same issue. The wealthy survive anyway. This is when the very poor begin to get crushed. And while our poor in America are bad also, absolutely. I don't want anybody being poor. The poor there, they're going to starve to death, literally.
But there may be other factors. Nursing homes, which have accounted for a large share of deaths in wealthy countries.
Now, here he talks about nursing homes, how if you're an advanced country, you probably send your family, your older people in your family to nursing homes, which is where 43% of all the deaths in this country came from. 43%. of all the COVID deaths came from nursing homes. Well, in underdeveloped countries, they don't have nursing homes. So their elderly live with the family, right? Which sounds better right now, except what happens when the family starts getting COVID? What happens when the people aren't out working?
Helping work. So the elderly are not clustered together.
Yep.
Heat may have some effect in reducing
Could
the
be
spread
heat,
of
he
the virus.
says.
There is another possibility. The developing world was spared the disease in the early months because it was less connected.
The reason why it was spared early on is because it was less connected. Think about that. So in this case, COVID hit us harder, not because, and this is going to sound crazy, but not because we decided to stay indoors or because we decided to shut our countries down, but because we were more connected. Yeah, because New York City, as an example, very connected with airplanes and buses and trains and flights, and it's congested. That was the bigger reason. That was the bigger reason. Some of the countries didn't have that. It's what I told you.
Trade to the initial hotspots, which were China and Europe. But over the last month, the coronavirus has moved slowly but steadily across South Asia and Latin America. Yeah. Brazil now has about 1,000.
I want to move a little forward here because this is just talking about how bad it is in foreign countries. And it is bad. Absolutely. But the piece that he brings up, which I really want to bring up, is he talks more about the economic damage of it more than anything else. Here we go. Emerging economies will reckon with economic damage of the virus. This is the worst. This part is the worst. And when this first came out, if you remember, how many people got mad at me who were like, Larry, what all you care about is your 401k. Whatever, that's not what I care about. But that's what all you care about is the money. And you libertarians, all you care about is the money. In these emerging economies, when the economic damage hits, they will not recover. And literally tens of millions of human beings will starve to death because of what we did. Our horrible response to COVID by shutting our own economy down, our self-inflicted wound. Yes, it is a self-inflicted wound. Our self-inflicted wound is not only going to hurt us, and it will hurt us, and it will hurt us economically. It will literally be responsible for the starvation of tens of millions of people in the underdeveloped or emerging economies. That is even worse. This is even worse. And of course, to Rory's point, he's right. More connected. That's why rural America did relatively well, right? Relative to cities. Of course, not as connected, not as much travelers, not as the people going back and forth. Yes, absolutely. That's the issue, right? It's exactly the issue. Thank you, Rory. Yes, that's exactly correct.
But it will be ameliorated by massive government spending.
Government spending.
These countries, America above all.
This is what he says.
At low interest rates with
he says massive government spending. But here's the problem. We already have an interest rate that's almost zero now. How much more can we spend? We're now at a point to where we are now starting to buy private companies. Japan's been doing that for years, so Japan's fine with that. Now we're doing that. We're going to start buying private bonds and private companies. That's what the Fed's going to start buying now to keep us afloat. This is a bad spot, guys. We're in a tough spot. And I just wanted to bring that up because, as I talked about it earlier, this is now mainstream, right? This is not just crazy Larry Sharpe saying stuff that's nutty. This is now mainstream stuff. Nicholas says, what do you tell young people who are fed up with living in New York? What can we do to get our state lawmakers' attention about our needs? Nicholas, vote gold. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's the only answer. The reality of it is if you live in a state like New York, California, or in the reverse, a very red state, Oklahoma, Alabama, a state that's very much blue or very much red, nothing's changing unless you vote gold. If you're in New York and you vote blue, you're getting blue. If you're in New York and you vote red, you're getting blue. So it doesn't matter. You're getting blue. In New York State, we haven't won a statewide election. The Democrats haven't lost a statewide election since 2002. 18 years. Ain't going to change. Vote gold is the only answer. Or sadly, I don't like this answer, but I'm just being honest because you asked me. Pack up and leave. I don't want you to leave, Nicholas. I don't want anyone to leave New York State. I don't want you to, but I'm not mad if you do. I get it. I totally get it. I don't want you to, but I'm not mad at you. I get it. I want you to stay. I want you to stay and vote gold. Here's why. If you vote gold, even if we lose, it tells the Democrats and Republicans they got to be Democrats and Republicans again. Right? Republicans in New York State and Democrats in Alabama or whatever the case may be, depending on what state you're in, they know they're going to lose. They don't care. They have their little fiefdom and they're happy to keep it. But if all of a sudden gold comes in, they go, wait a minute, I got a shot here. All right, I'll step up. Not because they necessarily want to step up. Some do. Some just care about their own personal power. I don't care why they step up, Nicholas. I just want them to step up. I don't care why. I hope it's for the right reason. But if it isn't, stay in anyway. Don't really care. Vote gold or pack up and leave. I don't want you to leave. I'm just being, honest here. So my point is, how will Generation Y and future generations pay off the federal debt? The odds are they won't. The odds are we're going to default. That's just the odds, right? If we can't make changes coming up here in the next 10 years, I'm guessing. I spoke about this when I was working in New York. I said it was about between 8 and 15 years is what I assumed by what my policy team had told me. And we walked through the numbers. We thought between 8 and 15 years from 2018 is when New York would default, somewhere in that area. That's been sped up because of COVID. I think Illinois will default before we will because they're in a worse spot and they don't have New York City. They only have Chicago, which is still a wonderful city, just isn't as big as Chicago. California will be a little bit longer because they still have tech industry and they still have finance industry right now. That's going away, but they still have it. So I think California will come later. Odds are that will happen. And once California defaults, the country defaults. California is the 5th largest economy on the planet. So once California defaults, the entire country defaults. That's when we just default and we basically reboot. I hope that doesn't happen. That will be a disaster for us. The only way it will change is if we actually care about the debt and we vote gold. If you remember when I ran for governor, I spoke about the idea of actually having our state income tax go away in 4 years. And then once I built the economy up in those 4 years to end that, I can then begin paying off the debt. Now it's at least 6 years before you even begin paying off New York State's debt. It's impossible. It was $400 billion in 2018. I'm sure it's far more now. So I'm sorry I'm being negative. Just being forward. If Cuomo wins again in 2022, he is probably going to be the one who takes New York State through bankruptcy, is my assumption, or his successor, and he'll blame the successor for it. Who will take us through bankruptcy? He'll probably blame COVID for it, is my assumption. So yes, the economy is life. Yes, it is, Lewis. It is. The economy is life. It's how we pay our bills. Absolutely. Yes. A great opportunity for the rich to rape the third world yet again. Almost makes you think someone thought this response through. I don't think that, Jim. So this is the issue. A lot of people start going through the idea of, well, it was planned and that kind of thing. I don't think people are that savvy. I think they take advantage of it once they see it. I mean, that I believe. Oh, that happened? Let's do this. We're ready for it. We can't wait. I don't think that they're savvy enough that they could actually, prepare in advance. I could be wrong. Just my gut tells me they're simply waiting for the crisis and then they jump on it the second it happens. And many times I don't think they even know what the crisis is going to be. But, crisis, great. Let's start taking advantage. I believe that's how it works. Yes, Christine, vote gold. That's the answer. Yes. Do you think the events of this year in America look similar to how the CIA destabilized other countries? Outrageous hatred for its leaders, economic downturn, civil unrest in the streets, taking out of statues, the interest on $3 trillion from the Fed, and what you mentioned with the Fed, just a question. No, Tim, it's a good question. And again, this is my biggest issue with our response to COVID. Our response to COVID showed that we would collapse once this happened. If I'm our enemies, if I'm Russia or China or Iran and I want to destroy us, why in the world would I try to make a nuclear weapon? That's dumb. That's really a gamble, really tough, really hard, dangerous. I'm not doing that. Instead, I'll make some kind of virus. I'll hope I have a vaccine that helps my people out. then I'll release it into the Western world and watch America collapse. Which is happening now. So do I think that, again, do I believe it's on purpose? I don't think this one was. Again, I don't have enough detailed knowledge to say if it is or isn't. My gut tells me it happened. People take advantage of it. And then, yeah, now we can. If there's another one, Tim, coming up here soon, that might be real. Excuse me, that might be real. So most of your stuff isn't nutty. Thank you, Frank. Some of it is, though. I know. Some of it is. Yes. Kenneth, thank you. We need to be educating Oklahomans about the party. Absolutely, 100%. I do appreciate it. We got to keep that going. Absolutely. I'm voting gold, looking to running on gold ticket in my city. Thank you. It breaks my heart to think about that many people starving. I have a stash to share. How do I get it to them? Frank, I don't think you do. We are talking just in India, 50 million people who live hand to mouth. Just in India. Your stash ain't enough. America won't be that bad because we have infrastructure to feed the people who are hungry. So the vast majority of Americans will not starve. The vast majority will not starve. It is very rare that they will starve in America. Many people are, they're worried about food security, but very few Americans starve to death. I mean, it's I think only in the teens for an entire year. It's very rare, and it still won't happen. We have facilities to make that happen. So I think we absolutely can do that. So what are your thoughts on digital currency? I usually don't. Yeah, let me go through it now. This will give us one big advantage, Michael. If people start thinking about this now, we can actually come up with a system where we can figure out how to end the Fed. Once we have to go bankrupt or look at default, when that comes to us, right? When we see that, now we have opportunity to go, you know what? It's the Fed's fault. How do we fix it? A lot of libertarians want to end the Fed tomorrow. Well, we could do that in theory, right? But the reality of it is you want to make sure that we have a plan. Are we going to accept digital currency? Are we not? Which ones are going to become legal tender? Which ones aren't? Do we care, right? Does the government just go, trade in whatever you want, but when you pay your taxes, use dollars or use Bitcoin or whatever the case may be? Are we going to have regulations on it? Will there be an exchange for them that the government will accept? And a market that the government says, fine, we don't care. But when you buy this, will businesses say, no, I want this, I want that? Remember, the American people, there's a culture of buying with dollars. They aren't going to change tomorrow. They're going to still want to have something that reminds them of dollars. How do we do that? So none of these are actually impossible. Michael, all of them can be dealt with. We simply have to have a plan to deal with them. And is it phased? Is it tomorrow? I'm okay with any of those answers. My issue is we have to have an answer before we just say gone. We don't want currency to be the wild, wild west when people expect there to be a standard, right? Jim says a gold standard. I'm okay with that too, as long as we have a plan. Whatever that plan is, I'm okay. Let's just have a plan. That's what I think, Michael. I think it is a good idea. We should talk about it. The issue, though, is how we make that happen, and we should make that happen. I hope that was helpful. I want to cover something else, if I could. Also happened this weekend. Also COVID related, and again, something that I talked about before, and we're watching this one happen because for some reason, we just never seem to be able to end these types of wars. Here we go.
Heavily armed South African soldiers. Their mission to curb the spread of COVID-19.
These are South African soldiers with a mission to stop the spread of COVID-19. And who are they trying to shoot? Cigarette smugglers. I'm not joking. Cigarette smugglers. Why? Because South Africa decided, you know what we have to stop when it comes to this? Cigarettes. That was their answer.
Let me catch you. It's becoming more and more about this.
But there seems to be also a lot of smuggling.
A lot of smuggling.
They smuggle cigarettes.
He said they all smuggle cigarettes. This is during crisis.
Dusty banks of the Limpopo, the border with Zimbabwe.
Crazy.
Hunting for cigarettes.
Look at the cash.
South Africa's COVID-19 lockdown measures included a ban on cigarette sales.
So the lockdown measures included a ban on cigarette sales. That was their goal. Let's stop cigarette sales. Stopping cigarette sales during the pandemic, what happened? Now, no one stopped smoking. Now there's a boom. Now there's a boom. Because you know how, let me give you a list real fast of how often prohibition has worked throughout the world. Finished. Never. Never. There's a virus in South Africa. They have soldiers on the borders, literally with, the equivalent of whatever in Africa is an AR-15, whatever that equivalent is. I don't know if do they use AR-15s in Africa, M16s, whatever they use. Whatever weaponry they use there, right? Those guys are on the border, ready to shoot you. Ready to shoot you. And they're running around smuggling cigarettes. Do we ever learn? No. Government only knows hit it with a stick. Government is a monopoly of force, always. A monopoly of force. And all it knows is how to hammer people. That's it. Instead of saying, well, wait a minute, people want to smoke, so why don't we find a safer way to transfer cigarettes? That would make sense. How about a safer way to transfer cigarettes? When we were doing in New York State, when I was talking about the idea of cannabis, and I said I wanted to regulate cannabis like onions. And people said, well, what if they want to have a tax and a tax and a tax? And I said, you know what? I would deal with a tax. I would accept a tax. And the amount I came up with was 3%. Why did I come up with 3%? Because my policy team and I sat down and crunched the numbers and figured some stuff out. And we really believed in our heart from what we saw that that's about the number to where people will not go to the black market. So if my thing costs $1 on the black market and $1.03 in a store, most people go to the store. But once it goes about $5, $6, people begin to start going to the black market. Once it's $1.20, $1.50, they're going to the black market. So if you gotta hammer cigarettes because it's difficult or hard or whatever, go with a very low tax, 2 or 3%. The average person doesn't go to the black market. That deals with your extra things of putting on masks or plastic around something, whatever the case may be. You go a couple of percent and you deal with it. So would I have begrudgingly accepted a 3% tax on cannabis? Yeah, I would have begrudgingly accepted it because it would have made it still legal. People aren't going to go to jail, and it would have not encouraged the black market, right? It would not have encouraged the black market. It would have, most people would have said 3 cents, fine, I'll buy my product in a store. And that's what I want. I want to encourage legal commerce and not encourage black market commerce. Even though there will always be black market commerce, I want the least of that as I possibly can. So I want my taxation, if I ever have to accept it because of the world that I'm in, to always be less than 3%. Yes, Governor Cuomo wanted to ban stuff. Absolutely. Yes, he always does. Yeah, when I was a smoker, that would have driven me to some nutty actions to get my fix. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that prohibition on drugs going well. Luke, winning. So winning. Yes. And yes, Cuomo and his flavor vapor ban, because that'll work. Yes, 100%. Yep, absolutely. Since the goal was to place individuals in jail, it has been very successful. Chris, valid point. You know what? Touche. It absolutely was. The goal of the war on drugs was to put people in jail. It has done that. So I guess it's worked. Well done. I stand corrected. Yes. High tax on cannabis sales only ensure the black market still exists. Yeah, you see it in California. 100%. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. So, yes. Anyway, thank you guys for that. I want to grab one more if I could. I thought that was odd because people are now saying, this isn't working. This isn't working. And the answer of the South African government has been, of course, more troops. Because what else would they do? One stick didn't work. Let's use 2 sticks. That's all government understands. That's all government knows. All right, I want to grab one more. This is just the beginning of one. This is about the coronavirus. Again, all the things I talked about in the past. This is very much when I told you show.
Tonight on the new reality. Back to school.
I think moving forward, learning might never be the same. I think it'll be better.
the future of meat processing.
Now, hold on. He said, learning might not be the same. I think it will be better. Hear that again. Learning might not be the same. I think it might be better. Isn't it horrible that it takes this for us to figure that out? I mean, think of all the kids whose education has been ruined for literally 20, 30 years. Education getting worse and worse and worse. How many teachers' careers have been ended just because they quit? They couldn't take it. They left because they couldn't do what they had to do. How much pain has happened, and it took this for them to go, it might even be better. Why didn't you start that a long time ago, right? My biggest issue here is you look at the average teacher who comes in to become a teacher. They want to do well. That's why they jump through all the hoops to get the credentials and to pass the tests and all the stuff they're supposed to become a teacher. They can't wait. That's why they do it. Then they get in, and administrators tell them everything to do. Well, why be a teacher then? Why go through all the hoops? If an administrator is going to tell you everything to do, then just hire high school kids. You're just following orders, right? Of course they fight constantly. The advantage of this COVID happening, and please, it's only an advantage. It's nothing but bad. I mean, there's lots of bad. There's one advantage, and that is most of the administrators don't know what to do. So they have to fall back to teachers and go, teachers. And teachers can now go, thank you. I can do my job now. You know what I know about? Educating kids. That's my job. That's what I'm hired to do. And when the crap hits the fan like this, it is my knowledge and my background and my desire to be creative that I can now still educate my kids. Administrator, you can't, but I can. And that's what we're seeing now. Teachers start figuring this out and go, you know what? Let me show you how this works. That should have happened 20 years ago. And now in certain cases happening now. But something else is happening. We're realizing what works. And one of the reasons why that worked is it's working is because we're not doing the standardized testing this year. In many schools, it's becoming just pass or fail. Many students are having to do work at their own pace. Everything's changing. And that's what we should have been doing literally for years already. There's the one advantage. I've been talking about this for years. Libertarian Party's been talking about getting federal government out of education for years. And now we're seeing it happen a little bit. Yes.
Look like pre-COVID are not what they look like currently. And I don't think that's what the plans will look like post-COVID.
Virus mysteries.
We know that there are people that don't have any symptoms related to COVID.
So two things. The first thing you said is business will be different. It won't look the same. Yeah, we're probably going to actually automate even more. We're going to automate even more. This is what I've been talking about, again, for years. When I ran for governor, that's all I talked about. The biggest issue that's affecting American jobs is not the evil immigrant or the evil Chinese. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is automation. That's the biggest issue. It's changing what people do and how they do it. It's changing everything. And we have to respond. COVID is going to make us respond faster. You were going to watch all those fast food restaurants turn over like that. And I might go, Larry, that's not necessarily a bad thing, is it? It is a bad thing. And here's the reason why. Who can afford all the new machinery? Yeah, big business. It buys in bulk. It already had it. It's ready to go. A lot of these, particularly fast food restaurants, they already had kiosks already ready. They had all these things already prepared. So now when COVID hits and everything changes, big business can respond. Small business, after getting devastated by the COVID crisis, how in the world can they respond? How in the world can they respond? It is a terrible situation like this. How can they respond? They can't. They're really going to suffer.
The many questions that remain.
How many people have actually been infected? We don't know that at all.
COVID and climate change.
So let me cover that last thing he said. He literally said, well, we don't know how many people have had it all. We don't know. We don't know. So our response in New York State was shut the entire state down. Well, Larry, you know that now because no, I spoke about this 4 months ago. I'm on record. I do this show all the time. I was on record doing this months ago. I was saying, why are we doing it? Don't do this. Let's follow the Swedish model. And we didn't. We followed the Cuomo shake his fist, destroy our environment, destroy our business environment model. That's what we did. That's what we actually did. And we didn't know. That's the problem. If you don't know, the current model, the way it works right now in American politics is we have decided since 9/11, 9/11 changed how politicians think about us, right? Why 9/11? Why didn't you keep us safe? That was a turning point. So now it is, we've embraced the nanny state since 2001. Don't get me wrong. It was happening for a long time. That 9/11 wasn't, the only thing, but it was happening for a long time. But after 9/11, that's when the country said, nanny state, oh my God, embrace us, help us, save us. It's your job to protect me. It's your job. You have to add on top of that, it's your job to protect me, government, with a very litigious society in the civil world that says every time something's wrong, it's somebody's fault. And the person's fault is the person with the deepest pockets, which is usually the entrepreneur or the big company or the government. You add all that together and you have what we have now. It's always someone's job to protect us always. Let's sit back. And what it does is it makes us a very childlike population, infantile. Daddy protect us, mommy protect us. So when, and why does that matter? Because now COVID comes and daddy, my Lord and Master, King Andrew II in my state said, everybody into your cells, go away, we will protect you. And we quietly did. We said, yes, Dad. And we went into our homes and we didn't get mad. And we stayed there for months and we just sat there and we did what he said. And it's embarrassing. We shouldn't have. And I said it months ago. If I had a store in New York, and I don't, but if I had one, I wouldn't have closed. No way I would have closed. I said totally open. I put masks on, Plaza, I stayed open. They'd have come by and ticketed me. I'm not paying a ticket. I'm going bankrupt. I don't care. Ticket me. We'll ticket you twice. Ticket me 10 times. This is $1,000. Make it $1 million. Doesn't matter. I'm not paying it. I'm going bankrupt because all these businesses, if you see so many of them, they're all going under. So if I'm going under anyway, I'm going to stay open. Ticket me all you want. I'm not going to pay any of them. And then I'll just go bankrupt and take my cash and go home. That's it. What else would you do? And if everyone would have done that, then it would have worked. But we didn't. Instead, we had people call up and go, hey, 911, this guy, he's being too close and he doesn't have a mask on. Give him a ticket. That's what we did instead. We became, mommy, my sister's not doing what she's supposed to do. My brother's not doing what he's supposed to do. That's what we became. And that started way before 9/11, but it was embraced after it. And that's what gives us this. Now, you lock us down. Well, now all of a sudden, we're sitting at home with nothing to do. So what happens when George Floyd happens? There's a mission. Boom. In the streets we go. In the streets we go. And now we're energized. Let's just hope we get energized for a lot of stuff. Let's hope we can. Absolutely. So anyway, that's why that happened. And it's because we've made that happen. Last piece.
The twin crises.
We need this kind of reduction every year. And we don't want to have a pandemic to do that.
And the new reality.
Now he talks about how, well, the pandemic means a lot of people weren't traveling. Those things weren't happening. So we actually had some pretty good responses when it comes to, CO2 and methane and such going into the air. Right? Awesome. But what does that do? What that does is that shows that we don't have to travel as much. We can still do business without it. That's going to change a whole lot. That's going to change what the business models look like. And again, all stuff I've been saying literally for months. And now mainstream media is actually saying this. Mainstream media is saying all the stuff that I've been saying for the past couple of months. I just wanted you guys to see that. This is it's all happening now. We were talking about this 3 months ago. All of these things. Now all of a sudden it's not coming out. Boom, 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 boom. Crazy. All right, I'm sorry. You mean the government didn't know what they were doing? No surprise there. Yeah, well, they kind of did. I mean, in a way. I mean, they really wanted to simply, the advantage of this mindset of my job is to protect you. When that's the goal, right? And again, I was a Marine. I took the same oath that any executive takes, which is to defend and protect and support the Constitution, not to defend every single American or every single New Yorker or every single Floridian. That's not the oath you take. You take to defend the Constitution. What's supposed to happen? It does not happen. But what's supposed to happen is any executive supports the Constitution, defends the Constitution. The Constitution defends and supports our rights so that we can defend ourselves. That's what's supposed to happen. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. But that's what's supposed to happen. Well, now all of a sudden it's to the extreme that it's your job to keep people safe. It's your job. Okay, so what happens? If I'm the governor of New York and COVID happens, if I do everything I can, I shut everything down, I lock you in your room, and I say stay away, and I shut the stores down, and you die, what can I say? Chris, I did everything possible to save you. I did everything. How can you blame me? I shut the economy down to save you. What could I do? What if you live? See, I saved you. It's win-win. No matter what I do, I win in that environment. So we have to change that environment. It shouldn't be that the job of the executive, whatever mayor, governor, president, is to protect every single American. It should be to defend the Constitution. That we did a very poor job of. We failed at that one. Boy, did we fail at that one. But that's not our job. Even though it's our oath. Note, it's our oath that we take. But we ignore it and try to protect every human being, which we can't. It's impossible. But we do it anyway, and we do the best that we can. See, Cuomo did the best he could. Absolutely. Good. Yes. I want to make clear that as a Canadian news source, the government issues in Canada are the same as issues in the U.S. That's true, but it's still government. But true. Yes, but true. All right. I don't like the Cuomo model either. I agree with you. Yes. For the record, I went to a speakeasy and got a black market haircut. There you go, brother. I love that. Cuomo is an insecure tyrant. This is true. Absolutely true. And that's why he does what he does. He spends all his time repeating stuff that we already know, all this time saying things that we already know. It's actually not impressive at all. Absolutely. Anyone that called the cops on people for being open during the COVID would have turned my family in Lutzkin in 1944. Ouch. Yeah. Not going to touch that one, but yeah. Okay. Yes. The company that I work for never shut down. We did, however, have many work from home. What's wrong with, see, thank you, Chris. The reality of it is there's a couple of bright shining lights in this darkness. One of them is people believed that the individual communities wouldn't show up. They believed that, private business wouldn't show up. They believed that without government, we couldn't do anything. And they were wrong. And they found out that, yeah, companies will show up. That, you know what, Chris? Your bosses, they don't want all their workers to die. Yeah, whether they love you or not, I don't know your bosses, but I'm hoping they love you. But if they don't love you, they still don't want all their workers to die because then they can't have a business. So whether they love you or just want you for your work output, either way, they don't want you to die. I do hope they love you, but they don't want you to die. So they're going to try to create an environment to where people can work and they can still get their work done and they can still make money and they can still pay you. They're going to do their best to figure that out. And if we would have let them do that earlier, like 6 months ago, the whole country would be better off. How do we know this? Sweden. That's how we know this. South Korea. That's how we know this. If you give people the right information, if you tell them what's going on and say, here are my guidelines, go. Some will fail without question. And Sweden wasn't perfect, but Sweden's better than us and flattened their curve and did not destroy their economy. Not a bad deal. Now, if Sweden has some enemies and somebody, I don't think they have any, but assuming they do, and somebody wants to hurt the Swedish economy, guess what? Releasing a virus isn't going to do it. The Swedes have just shown us this. They aren't going to do this. Yes. After people go bankrupt, the credit rating system is still controlled by 3 agencies. Yep. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. 100%. 100% true. And people will go bankrupt and they'll still have student loans. Look at that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. All right. We need to get Larry as a commentator or panelist on a major network show where people try to predict things, and Larry can be like, this is what's going to happen. It isn't really that hard to figure out, though, Joe. I don't think they actually want to hear it. But yeah, it isn't that actually hard to do it. Yes. I've been talking with Democrats lately who think they're better off voting for the lesser of two evils, Biden. And they say Joe doesn't have a chance. What can we say to these people to try to convince them? I hear this almost every show. And I want to give a couple things, two different sides. Side number one, if you are in a state that is strongly blue or strongly red, I'm in New York, Biden is going to win New York. That's going to happen. I get it. He's going to win New York. So my response is, if you vote blue, you get blue. If you vote red, you get blue. It's useless. Your vote has no meaning. But if you vote gold, you can actually support a third party for the future, which does matter. And you can show, if enough of us vote gold, that the blue needs to be more closer to gold and the red needs to be closer to gold. And they'll move because enough people voted. If you want your vote to count, if you're in a deep blue or deep red state, the only thing to do is vote gold. That's the only way your vote counts. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Again, if you live in New York, California, Biden's winning those two states. It doesn't matter what you vote. Biden's going to win those two states. So you can vote red or blue all you want and go, I'm supporting Biden, I'm supporting Trump. Who cares? No one's coming in, no one cares. Instead, vote gold. You'll make a change. You vote now Alabama. Trump's winning Alabama. He's winning Mississippi. That's going to happen. They're going to win. I got it. So vote gold. You can support Biden all you want. Ain't going to happen. Vote gold. That's for that. Now, what if you're in a swing state? You're in a Pennsylvania, Michigan, Florida. These are swing states. It's different. In that case, don't you want to send a message to your guy, to your gal, your guy? In this case, only your guy, because there's only two guys running. To your guy, in this case, don't you want to send a message to him to be better? Don't you let them know that they may not win the way you want them to win? Don't you want to not give them a mandate? And when can you do that other than now? It's going to hurt now. Give your guy a mandate. Let him know. Don't give your guy a mandate. Let him know that it's got to be better. He can't just be a placeholder. Try that. All right. Larry, don't tell the people who had family members in nursing homes that Cuomo did his best. Yeah. There we go. Thank you, Brittany. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Great. Thank you. All right. Let me keep going here. How long do I have to stay patient with my wife who's a Democrat? Will she ever jump as a libertarian? Well, Warren, here's what I will tell you. My wife was a multi-decade long Democrat. Many decades she was a Democrat. Even after I was already a libertarian, she was still a Democrat. Now, she voted for Gary Johnson in 2016 because she was like, fine, I'll vote, because she knew she was a Hillary supporter. So she knew that Hillary was going to win New York. As I said, she's fine. She voted for Gary Johnson because she knew that Hillary was going to win New York. She was a Hillary supporter. So she was Democrat for multiple years. Just about 2 years ago, give or take, she finally said to me, she goes, you know what, Larry, I'm not Democrat anymore. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She goes, like, they don't represent me anymore. And I was like, all right, this is rocking and rolling. And then COVID hit, Warren. There's hope. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, after about 2 months, 3 months into COVID, my wife said, it wasn't COVID that destroyed this state and this city. It was the government. The government shut us down and did blah, 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 blah. And my phrase was very simple. Your transformation is complete. You're now libertarian. That's it. So I've been with my wife. This year in December makes 20 years. So I'm going to say 19 years. That's what I'm going to say. Give or take 19 years. So about that. When I met her, I wasn't a libertarian. I was, I hate both parties. Ralph Nader's my guy because Nader's not them. That was who I was. I couldn't have told you Nader's policies. But when I met her, I was Nader. That's the guy. He'll save us. Whatever. I was then at that point. I didn't become a libertarian until 2012. So if we count 2012 and then go 2012 to now, then I would go, what's that? 8 years? 9 years. You pick in that area. I hope that was helpful at least. But it did happen. See, there is hope. It did happen. Yes. Too much work. It is a lot of work. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. How do we get into debates? This is a question I get all the time. I would love to have her in debates. Matt, want to see her in debates. To be forward with you all, and I say this all the time, I want to be clear. Debates are about popularity. That's it. It doesn't matter what else we do. The CPD is irrelevant. Lawsuits don't matter. It is irrelevant. What matters is, are we popular? One of the reasons why I'm doing this, there are many reasons why I do this, but one of them is to get more people who are non-libertarians to watch these shows, to talk about this, to think, and to convert more people to being part of our world and our media. It's why I bug you every single week. Every show I bug you. Like, share, comment, like, share, comment. I'm not doing it just because I have nothing better to do. I'm doing it because if you like, share, and comment often, what happens? The algorithms kick in. This gets shared more people see it. We become more popular. And those who are watching my social media, I will often put on local libertarian politicians on. Other people see them. They raise money. Blah, 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 blah. It keeps growing. If we are popular, we will be in the debates. If we're not popular, we will not. It's literally that simple. So our answer is be more popular. That's it. If we're not that, we don't get in debates. All right. Let's see here. I can't say that the people where I live, Florida. Yes, Joe, you're a swing state. It doesn't work. I'm not a swing state. I can say whatever I want. Exactly. Yes. They need to build a third party to hold the other two accountable. They always want more government when they are in the majority, no matter who's in charge, and more government means less rights for us. This is the hardest part we deal with, right? When you have the idea of, when you have the idea of my guys versus the other guys, each one's trying to impose their will upon the other. So the average Republican isn't about smaller government. They're about their big government. The average Democrat is about their big government. The only difference in those two, right, in reality is, in this case, you will find, by the way, that both sides, depending upon the issue, lie, and both sides, depending on the issue, tell the truth. In the case of the Democrats, at least they're honest about they want big government. They say it. Yep, big government, socialism, yep, we're in. Republicans don't say it, but they still want it. They just want their big government, right? Their big government. But they both want big government. That's absolutely true. The only case is in this specific issue, the Democrats are just honest about it. But they both want the same thing. Lots and lots of government. 100%. All right. I'm a good man. I try, brother. I try. I keep going. Absolutely. I try. Yes. We should do a live stream of debate commentary, if not in debates, to get the combo out there. That's not a bad thing. If you find many times when the Democrats are debating, I would live tweet the debates. As the debate was going, I would live tweet my comments. And they got a lot of play. Maybe Joe should do that. Live tweet them, live tweet our answers. It's not a bad idea. It might work. It might actually work. 100%. Absolutely. I tell everyone that the only difference between the two parties is how they spend the money. This is also very true. I love that. Absolutely true. 100%. Absolutely true. Yes. We want to make sure that they're spending the money my way, not the other way. Yes, that makes it right. So, all right. The reason why I went through these things, I want to cover a couple other things that people often ask me, and I want to bring this to full circle here. The weekend shows are very much left and right or useless. What do I mean by that? When you have a moment, if you ever want to watch the Sunday shows, you Meet the Press or George Stephanopoulos, I've stopped watching a lot of those because what happens is they ask a question, the politician decides to answer any way they want to answer, often without even answering the question, and then the person just goes, okay, and moves on. This is the part that drives me crazy. I hear that constantly. They ask the question. Hold on, let me see if I get this real fast. They ask a question. The guy or the gal doing it answers the question in whatever way they want, or doesn't answer the question at all. And then for some reason, they just go, okay, and that's it. So then why bother? If all they're going to do is just deal with talking points, why are we even listening to them, right? That's a problem. So let me see if I can bring this up real fast, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. This is George Stephanopoulos talking to Ben Carson.
Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, thank you for joining us this morning. Quite a claim there from President Trump, done more for Black Americans than any president.
This is right after he shows a clip of Trump saying he's done more for Black Americans than any president, except maybe Lincoln. So then he says to Carson, that's a pretty big statement, isn't it? Watch Carson completely just dodge and say what he wants and have no repercussion whatsoever.
Since Lincoln, do you stand by that claim?
Well, I will say, rather than get into an argument about who's done the most.
So I will say, instead of getting into an argument about who's done the most, so basically what it's saying is, I'm not going to answer your question because that's awkward for me. So I'm not going to answer it. And that's it. That's it.
What has, in fact, been done? You know, the opportunity zones were designed in order to bring.
So now let me start saying all the good things that Trump has done. It's not like Trump hasn't done good things for the black population of America. Of course he has. He's done some good things. Of course. He's done some bad things too. He's done good things too. Of course. That wasn't the question. The question was, the president just said he's done more than anything, more for black people than any other president. Maybe not Lincoln. Maybe Lincoln. Do you stand by that? Total dodge. And now he starts talking about talking points. This is why I often don't watch this show. It's just talking points. So someone gave Ben Carson, a bunch of talking points, and he went, "Oh, okay. When I get on, I'll just say my talking points." Useless. Means nothing.
Money into areas that are traditionally neglected, and that's been quite successful. Prison reform has been
true.
Quite successful.
It's true.
Just the first step. There are other things that need to be done. Making funding for the HBCUs regular rather than done on an
I can't stand that government's funding them, but I get it. At least he has done more. That's true, though, at least.
Very useful. And, you know,
okay, watch this dodge.
That's a fair point. So should the president stop making that comparison? It's hard to...
So it's a fair point. So should he stop making the comparison? He doesn't say you didn't answer the question. So yeah, he doesn't say it.
Compare that with Lyndon Johnson passing the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Act, Ulysses Grant sending in troops to take on the...
So he says, should he compare it to people like, Ulysses Grant who sent in troops, Lyndon Johnson.
Klan, President Eisenhower sending in troops to enforce the Board of Education.
All of which is a significant part of our history. And that's an important thing for us to acknowledge, what has happened in the past. And, we should be willing to look at what we've done together collectively.
Let's look at what we've done together. Doesn't answer the question again. Back to talking points. Now, some people think this is good. I'm serious. There are people who train guys like this into doing this. This is why he goes through the just talking points, talking points, talking points. That's what we talk about. The problem is, whose mind does it change? No one's. That's the problem. If libertarians follow this model, we will change no one's mind. Ben Carson isn't trying to change anyone's mind. Ben Carson, in this case, is always trying to do it. And I'm beating up Ben because he happens to be here. But it could be anybody. I mean, they're all the same, right? Ben Carson I happen to remember him. He happens to be here. But this can be, name any Democrat, any Republican, they're all the same. All they will say is, well, let me give you the talking points, which means if I already support Trump, I go, yeah, that validates what I think. If I don't support Trump, then I go, he's just lying. He's just lying. I've moved no one. As libertarians, we have to move people. This isn't going to work for us at all. It works for them. Because remember, if you're part of the two big parties, your goal is only one thing: motivate your base and get them out more than the other side's base. If you do that, you win. Conversion, irrelevant. Third parties, irrelevant. If you're a libertarian, though, you can't do that because we have only three ways of winning. One, getting Democrats to turn. Two, getting Republicans to turn. Three, getting people who don't vote. Any of those three do not require talking points. They require ways to motivate people to want to make a change. He doesn't have that problem. We do. This does not work for us. We can't copy this and act this way. If you've watched me be on, when I have to be on these things, it's very different. I'm always giving actual answers, actual ways. I'm motivating people to do stuff. I'm changing how they do. That's what you have to do when you get into the press. This is not going to work at all. And I'm saying it because you'll see it. You'll actually notice it and go, oh, yeah, it's just talking points. And if you like Trump, that's fine. You go, yep, that's my guy, Trump. No worries. If you hate Trump, you call us, he's a liar. He's always lying. That's what you're going to hear. I get it. I totally get it. It makes total sense. All I'm saying is, as libertarians, we're trying to move people. It just doesn't work. Let me give you, this is one of my earlier interviews. Hold on. One of my earlier interviews. This is early in 2018, over 2 years ago.
Voting in the gubernatorial election this November. That's right, this November. It's an election year. Candidates so far include former State Senator Terry Gibson, Assembly Minority Leader Brian Kolb, and former Erie County Executive
I believe January of
and
2018.
My first guest this evening, Libertarian candidate Larry Sharpe. Sharpe announced his campaign last summer.
See, I announced last summer. He says that.
Reforming education to better train students for the workforce.
Reforming education.
Taxes and restructuring taxes to help farmers.
Helping farmers.
Just to name a few. Sharpe joins me now in the studio to discuss his.
Look at that young man.
Larry, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
What would you say? So first of all, just tell us a little bit about your background, why you feel like you should be the person to kind of carry forward the libertarian message.
I don't bore
in this gubernatorial election.
It's not just a libertarian message. It's actually what should be a new New York.
I went right to benefits. I didn't go, I'm a smart guy and blah, 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 because nobody cares. I said, this is about a new New York. This is about changing people. This is what I'm trying to achieve. This is what we have to do.
Message, right?
By the way, look at that. There's an L by that guy's name, as in someone who ran as a libertarian in New York State. Yes.
I'm a poor kid from the Bronx, broken family. Father passed when I was 11. Mother was an immigrant. She was caught up in the drug war.
I just connected to every single person I can connect to. That was the goal. Connection. Emotional connection.
He was a convicted felon. I had to come back from my days in the Marine Corps.
Veteran.
A vet.
Boom, 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 boom.
Kind of help her get her back on her feet. Seeing that struggle that we all go through, seeing that struggle that so many New Yorkers are still going through. This is something that we have to change New York from a culture of, look, it's about punishment. Too. No, it's not about punishment and bribery. It's about how can we facilitate people growing.
Yes. How can you facilitate people growing? This is why I was able to get as many votes as I got. This is why we were able to get ballot access. This kind of conversation. This is what we have to be doing more of, better of. We do this better and people will want to show up. That's what I'm talking about, guys. I know I'm being a bit, I guess I'm being a bit of a nudge here, but I'm just saying this is what matters, right?
So I wanted to get into the issue of gun control because this is a big week after what happened in Florida. That
gun control.
People are talking about, very concerned about it. And I know that you're a big Second Amendment rights.
So let me see if I can make sure that I did that right. Did you guys hear that? I hope you can. Hold on. Gun control.
And you believe that the SAFE Act should be repealed. And
Absolutely.
That's the gun control law that Governor Cuomo
SAFE
got
Act.
through right after the Sandy Hook.
What about SAFE Act? What?
Not just Governor Cuomo and the Republicans, Democrats together. They got together and got that one through.
Yes, that's right. Everybody did. It's been the law for a few years.
So I blame both parties, right? Not Democrats. Democrats, Republicans both did it. And then watch.
But you still think that that should be repealed, even with
Without
what
question.
Okay.
Because the SAFE Act didn't make anybody safer.
You don't think it did in New York?
No one safer. What the SAFE Act did is it made a bunch of people who were legal gun owners criminals overnight.
Do you hear that? That's how you make people think. It's punishing people. Let's not do that. By the way, libertarian candidate ran as an L. This is what we have to do, guys. This is what we have to do. We do this, we can make impact. I don't need to keep self-grandizing myself, whatever is the phrase. I need to keep showing myself up. You guys go to my YouTube page if you care about that stuff. My point being, we can't be like Democrats and Republicans. They just do rhetoric. Rhetoric does not move people. You saw it. Carson didn't move you. You didn't care about Carson. If you like Trump, you went, yeah, that's my guy. If you hate Trump, you went, that guy's lying. That's it. But when you hear libertarians talk, we've got to stop talking about rhetoric and start giving solutions and start connecting to people. This is not a job interview. It's a popularity contest. That's what it is. Connect to people, make them feel like you're like them, Show them answers and they will support you. It really is what we're all about. And watching the weekend shows, I look for the ones that can give me ways of actually coming up with policies and such. Watching Fareed Zakaria, it's why I watch him, because he's smart. He leans left. Clearly he leans left. But he's smart and he figures stuff out and he gives me ideas. That's why I watch those things. That's why I come to you every week and do this. Why I do AMAs every Monday. I want, for those of you who see me come up with policies, and if you're running for office, I'm asking a favor of you. Please steal all of my policies. Let me say it again. Please steal all of my policies. You don't have to give me any credit for them either. Take my quick policy or my fax policy and make it yours. Say you thought of it. All good. I won't say a word. You can come on my show and say it was your idea. I'll go, yep, boy, you're super smart. All good. This is what we have to do. We build out policy. We can make things happen. Absolutely, guys. It can work. Vote gold. Show people this stuff and they'll get it, right? I'll do the last piece if you can. How do I get someone who wants to vote for their guy or their gal, whatever that might be, right? Whoever wants to do that. Get that one issue they care about. Is it guns? Is it vaping? Is it criminal justice? What is that one thing? You can make things change. And since I'm here, I will show you what we did for how I know that we won't get into debates if you're not popular enough. It's because if we have one that one of the big candidates doesn't want to show up to, they won't show up and they'll just do something on the side. That's what happened to me. And this is the example of it actually happening to me.
Debate, sponsored by
2018.
CBS2 and WCBS News Radio.
So what did my team do?
Here is your moderator, CBS2's Marcia Kramer.
What they did is they talked about both sides.
30 seconds for rebuttal when warned.
Modern political history.
And they talked about both.
Because there was a toss, we'll go to the governor. But gentlemen, first, a quick review of the guidelines.
Real quick.
She's facing nearly 20 million people. Welcome
Here
to
are
the
the
one
people.
and only
What
debate
we did,
for
we
the
added
highest
in.
office in the Empire State. Joining me is Rich Lamb from WCBS News Radio 880, along with the candidates, Governor Andrew Cuomo,
Larry Sharpe. He is the 2018 Libertarian candidate for New York State governor.
And Republican Mark Molinaro. The first question, because
I just thought you guys would enjoy that. That's what we did. We had our team get together, take the actual debate that people actually did, and then edit me in. They literally edited me into answering all the questions.
Rate of 4% each year. So despite the fact that you continue to suggest that you've been able to hold the 2%, you haven't. And what you've talked about in trying to drive down local property taxes is dishonest. This state forces more state spending onto local property taxpayers than any state in the country, which means we've been able to streamline county government, we've modernized and delivered efficiencies, and we now have cut property taxes each of the last 4 years. And on Monday, I release a budget that cuts property taxes for the 5th straight year in a row.
Mr. Molinaro, the time is up.
It's a great question, Marcia. And first, I want to thank WCBS for not inviting me to this debate. It shows exactly what establishment lackeys you are and gives me the great opportunity to do this. So His Majesty in his glory has said that he's been so good in that his increases are the lowest increases. That's how he does cutting. So his cutting is still increasing. But not just that. He just blamed the counties. They spend too much. They need to cut the spending, right? They're eating too much. He's put unfunded mandates onto the counties, 85, 90, 95% of their budget. He's deciding what they spend the money on. I have an idea. How about we instead let the counties choose what they spend the money on? Start their budgets at maybe 0 so they can actually figure out what's good for them. And maybe they could actually change how they spend their money. I'm talking about cutting the responsibility of the counties to take Medicaid. Drop that by 25% for the next 4 years. Let the state take on some of that burden and lower the cost of Medicaid with health care and health care insurance. We do that. That's real taxpayer relief.
I actually answered the question. And that's the issue I want to bring up. I know I nudge on you guys all the time on this. And I say it because too often you will find the libertarian candidates will simply respond with rhetoric because they see Democrats, Republicans respond with rhetoric. We may not. We can't. It's totally unfair and still true. So anyway, I know I yapped away a lot, guys. I appreciate it. I really want to say thank you for staying with me for over an hour tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching this stuff with me and us talking about it. We have a chance at victory here. We can make some real impact here in November. And most that's going to be locally. You know it. I'm supporting you guys, local guys, to the best of my ability. And please, please, please steal all of my policies to the best of your ability. And of course, please like, comment, share. Guys, follow me on Twitter if you haven't. Follow me on Facebook if you haven't. Subscribe to me on YouTube if you already haven't. And if you like what I'm giving, if you like what I'm putting out there, head over to patreon.com/SharpeWay and throw me a couple of bucks so we can move this thing forward. Guys, thank you so much, and I will see you all tomorrow.